What's up guys, it's your girl FrumpyFit. If you don't know who I am, I'm an online weight loss coach who's dedicated to calling out all the BS in the fitness industry and providing you with accurate fitness, nutrition, and weight loss information. Today, the topic of discussion is snacking tips for weight loss. Now, ever since this global pandemic started, a lot of us have been spending insane amounts of time at home. So even if you're not normally a snacker, you may find yourself snacking a lot more often than you normally would. Now, for me, regardless of where I am or what's going on in the world or what I'm doing, I am a snacker. I will literally bring snacks to the club with me when I go out with friends. Keep it in my purse, keep it in my fanny pack. I need snacks. I need them. So as a professional snacker and a weight loss coach, I wanted to give you all my best tips to be able to still have snacks but stay on track with your goals. First off, frequency of eating or the number of meals or snacks you have per day is not going to impact fat loss. So don't feel like you need to be snacking or eating frequently. It doesn't boost your metabolism or whatever people are saying about it these days. And the only time that snacking can become a problem is if you're over consuming on your calories throughout the entire day, taking you out of a calorie deficit. A calorie deficit is required for fat loss, and that just means consuming fewer calories compared to what you burn throughout the day. If you want more info on a calorie deficit, check out this video that I did right here. The way that you should design your eating patterns or eating habits should be based off personal preference. So this is what will determine how many times per day it makes sense for you to have a snack. So I'm not going to give you any tips or tell you what to do there, but what I am going to tell you is how to design an optimal snack for fat loss and how to avoid overeating your snacks, because that can be a number one reason why snacking can be problematic when someone is trying to lose weight. When you're designing your snack, you want to make sure that it's well balanced. And this is going to be especially important if your snacking preferences involve junk food. And I'm putting junk food in quotations because I honestly hate that phrase because I think it unnecessarily demonizes certain foods. So if you want to hear me talk more about junk food specifically, check out this video that I did right here. But it's okay to snack on so-called junk food. Chips are my all-time favorite thing to snack on, and I think most fitness influencers would tell you to avoid doing something like that, but in my opinion that sounds restrictive and not realistic if you're somebody who really enjoys those foods, and we don't do restriction here. So what I do is I make sure that I pair something like chips that is a calorie dense food with a food that is more nutrient dense, something like fruit, vegetables, or a protein source. Here's a snack that I had the other day, which is pita chips, carrots, snap peas, and hummus. And I've been having this snack all week, to be honest. And I know you might be thinking that pita chips aren't that bad compared to other chips, but hold your horses for a sec. I'm going to talk about Doritos really soon. So that snack works for 3 reasons. Number 1 is because I'm normally not giving my full attention to the snack because I'm working or I'm doing something else while I'm snacking. So what happens is you're mindlessly eating and then you get to the bottom of the bowl and it's empty and you're like, I didn't get to say goodbye. So I know a lot of people will say like, oh, just don't snack mindlessly, like pay attention to the food that you're eating. And I totally get that recommendation, but like that doesn't always work for me. And I know that doesn't always work for other people. Number 1, because I'm so busy throughout the day that snacking allows me to get in calories without taking a break from work. But also, like if I was watching TV, it's enjoyable to sit down and watch a movie and have snacks. It just is. So while yes, that might be a really great tip to pay attention to your food and not eat while you're distracted, I don't think that it's good enough to stop there. I think we need additional options. So having the veggies next to the chips allows me to have a higher volume of food for less calories. Like if you were to compare the same volume of food if it was just all chips, that's a hugely different amount of calories. And using the hummus as dip forces me in a way to interact with the snack rather than not pay any attention to it at all. So I can still do it while I'm working, but I'll have to pick up a chip or pick up a veggie and like dip it in the hummus, which requires even just a little bit more attention to my snack, which can make a big difference in my opinion. The second reason this snack works is because the nutrients and the fiber from the vegetables will ultimately make this snack more satisfying than it would have been if it was just the chips. This is why I made the recommendation earlier that you should always pair a calorie dense food or snack with something more nutrient dense, whether it's fruit, veggies, or a protein source. And the third reason is that having chips with other foods allows me to not feel deprived of a snack I really love. Yeah, I could just have the veggies and the hummus, totally, and sometimes I do, but if I'm really craving chips specifically, just eating veggies isn't gonna do it for me. And this whole entire week has been PMS week for me, so you bet your ass I'm eating chips. Some of my other go-to chip combinations when it comes to snacking is like adding a chicken salad as a dip. So I'll take pita chips, or like my all-time favorite, which is kettle jalapeno chips, and I'll mix up canned chicken breast, some onions, some pickles, some mayo. I'll throw in some alfalfa sprouts, so if I'm feeling fancy, and that almost turns it into like a little mini meal. It's gonna be so much more satisfying. Protein is the most satisfying or most filling out of all the macronutrients, so adding protein to your snacks is such a good way to discourage overeating. And finally, for all my Dorito loving queens, Cool Ranch specifically, because that's so much better than nacho cheese. It's not even an argument. And don't judge me for this, because I know it's going to be controversial. Please go easy on me. But what I do is I dip my Cool Ranch Doritos in cottage cheese. It's so good. I swear, I'm not lying to you. It's so good. And cottage cheese is an amazing source of protein. If you ever see Doritos in my shopping cart, I guarantee like 9 times out of 10, cottage cheese is also in my cart. Okay, I know all of these examples have been about chips, but that's just because they're my favorite snack. So whatever your favorite snack is, whatever you like to have on a regular basis, figure out creative ways that you can pair it with fruits, veggies, or some sort of protein source. I promise it will help. Aside from chips, some of my other favorite snacks are protein bars, Chobani Flip Greek yogurts, string cheese, a rice cake with like Laughing Cow cheese on it, a caramel rice cake with some peanut butter on top, fruit or pretzels with dark chocolate hummus. Yes, dark chocolate hummus is a thing and it's amazing. So you have tons of options, and I want you to be able to curate your own list of your go-to favorite snacks. Okay, so now you might have some snack ideas. Let's talk about some practical tips about how to avoid accidentally overeating. Because if the overeating is coming from a mental thing, changing your snacks up isn't going to solve the entire problem. We need to address the other stuff. So for tip number 1, I'm going to give you a real-time example. I've been living with this in my house for the last 2 weeks. My boyfriend saw it at the store and he bought it for me because he knows it's my favorite candy. And then he just gave it to me and left me alone with it with no help of eating it whatsoever. And while it was so thoughtful, babe, if you're watching, thank you, love you, it was kind of diabolical. No one individual needs that much candy. So the first week of having the Sour Patch Kids in my possession, I was eating them every single day, multiple times a day. Basically, anytime I went to the kitchen and saw them sitting on the counter, I would eat some. And I already know this about myself, so I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, but I just put it in a cupboard rather than having it out on the counter, and I completely forgot about them for like 4 days straight and didn't have a single one. So this tip might not work for everybody, but it works for me almost every single time. If I have a snack and it's out on the counter, I consume it every time I look at it. But if as soon as I put it away in a cupboard, it's like it's completely out of my mind and I've totally forgotten about it. And I actually saw this really interesting video by Kiana Docherty. I don't know if that's her name. I'll link it. Maybe I'll put the thumbnail here or something. And they just moved snacks to different locations or put them in containers that were like opaque instead of clear, and all of a sudden people stopped snacking and like lost a bunch of weight. It's a super interesting video. And as I was watching it, I was like, hey, that's what I do to myself. And tip number 2 is to remove what you're going to eat from the source and then remove yourself from the source. So if it's like a bag of chips, or if it's the bag of Sour Patch Kids, what I'm doing is I'm pouring what I want to eat into a separate, smaller container, and then I am moving away from the source. So I leave the bag of chips, I leave the Sour Patch Kids in their cupboard in the kitchen, and I leave. And that's where I consume them. Do not bring the full bag of Sour Patch Kids or chips with you for refills. And absolutely do not eat straight out of the bag. So what this is doing is it's encouraging mindfulness. When you're pouring your initial portion, you have to actively think, hopefully, how much of this do I want to eat? You're making a decision right there. This is how much I'm going to eat. You know you're going to eat all of it, so you're making a decision. And then once you finish the portion that you had poured out, you have to make another decision. Am I done with this snack, or do I want more? And if you're deciding you want more, now you have to do one of 2 things. You have to acknowledge that you're eating more than you initially intended, and number 2, you have to walk your butt back to the kitchen to go get it. And I know that sounds like super lazy, but any barrier to overconsumption is going to be a good thing. And it's not about physical laziness, it's more about like mental laziness. It may not just like feel worth it anymore to go all the way back to the kitchen and get snacks. I don't really know, it depends on how far away your kitchen is, I guess. Just like everything else in this video though, this is not an automatic solution to all of your snacking problems. You have to go into this with the intention of being mindful and making a change in the patterns that are already set. These are patterns and habits that are probably pretty deeply ingrained in you. It's not going to be easy to break them. It might be, but it's usually not. So the intention that you need to have going into this is, I'm going to figure out exactly how much of this snack I need to feel satisfied, but not eat more than I needed to. And if your goal is weight loss, you also need to be aware of your calorie deficit. And again, if you're used to chronic mindless snacking, this might be a real challenge for you. It might not be easy. So the goal is never perfection. It's just progress. And progress might be just acknowledging the patterns that you have. Because if all of this has been mindless this whole time, you might not even realize the kinds of habits and patterns you have about snacking. So give it time, give it intention, and I promise all of the tips in this video will make a difference for you. Okay guys, that's the end of the video as usual. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok and on Instagram and hit the subscribe button here, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!